Stop wasting ad dollars on one-time buyers. Hims built a $1.5 billion D2C empire in the men's health industry, all with one quiz funnel that drives new customers into recurring subscriptions.
We'll show you step by step how Hims drops shoppers off of ads into a multi-step quiz funnel that's personalized, creates trust, and gets customers to pay 3 to 6 months of their product in advance. Because they collect so much cash up front, they can afford to outspend a ton of their competitors and dominate in their market.
Stick around and you'll see how to copy these strategies to boost your customer lifetime value and profit on ad spend.
Welcome to the Funnel Show, your inside look at what's working right now to scale funnels to 8 figures and beyond. Whether you're scaling funnels for your own brand or for your clients, join us as we learn from the top funnel operators in the arena today. Together, let's find the patterns of success, uncover what works, and learn how to scale fast. I'm John Denny.
And I'm Ethan Denny.
We're brothers and co-founders of ConvertFlow, which launches and optimizes funnels for high-performance brands. And here's the best part. Everything we learn about scaling funnels is going straight into our AI platform, so you can put it to work today.
Let's dive in. All right, so here we're looking at Hims quiz funnel. Now, before we get into the details of the quiz funnel, let's look at how they're actually driving traffic to this funnel. So a couple things you'll notice. They're running static ads, video ads, TV ads, subway ads, postcards. They're using multiple channels to get people to their website as well as to dedicated landing pages. Let's take a look at their specific ad campaigns here.
So I'm definitely getting a lot of their TV ads. Yesterday, I was watching Yellowstone on Peacock, and they were hitting me with ads regarding hair loss, and I feel targeted.
Yeah, well, since you visited their site, I'm sure they probably are targeting you.
Do you know if with TV at subscriptions like Hulu and Peacock, if they're doing that, like if they're able to like ID verify you or match you up with your ad IDs?
Yeah, I think they can. I think there's like sources that create like identifiers using IP address, location, like for devices, things like that, in order to like stitch together a sort of like advertiser or like, you know, a profile that allows other brands to target you across channel.
I feel like there's a way for me to test this because, you know, Hims also has hers, which is targeted at women.
Right.
So if I were to go to my fiance's like profile on like the same app, Peacock, I wonder if they're going to target her. And maybe it's just something that they're doing at a Peacock level, or perhaps it is actually at a person level tied to me because I had visited their site.
Maybe it's worth a test. Let me know. Let me know if you see ads from them. So while they're really strong with their direct consumer ads online, just to cover a couple other channels before we dive into those, you'll see they're also like running subway ads for driving awareness. New York is, you know, I think probably ground zero for Hims. Or actually, I don't know if they were founded out like in San Francisco or New York. I know they were started by some company that incubated them, I believe, and then spun them off as like a separate company. So maybe it was New York. Anyhow, you'll see all kinds of ads from Hims across New York where they drive people directly to their main site where people start the quiz.
They're definitely like one of these millennial like yuppie brands. So I bet they're not really running offline ads outside of New York that much.
I think I'm seeing them in Miami now, but I guess Miami's become one of these
yuppie places.
Yuppie places, yeah. You'll also notice that they send out all kinds of postcards. This one here is specifically for weight loss, but I imagine they do the same for their hair products, driving people through QR codes to the quiz or to the main site. And as well, like they'll have like specific, you know, calls to action and links that or URLs that, you know, are specific to those postcards.
So for context, Hims does multiple products. They do like obviously hair loss products, which we've been targeted by both of us.
Me? Nah, no way.
They also do sexual health, and they also do like weight loss, like GLP-1 kits.
Now, looking at their ads, something I noticed that was kind of interesting is how they obviously have like static ads and they have video ads, but the types of landing pages that they drive people to from these ads are different. So for example, here you'll see the static ads drive people to a low context landing page. So there's a lot more education on that specific landing page. Looking at the ads really quick, you know, just to understand the customer journey. So it looks like this one might have been a video, but yeah, for the most part, these static ads are selling the goal, selling the process, selling the, communicating the problem, the before and after, right?
If you actually scroll up just a little bit, you'll see the unboxing videos. I think that's worked really well because I've bought their like hair volume shampoo type stuff, and I remember seeing the unboxing videos for when they deliver it, and the packaging looked really good. So it felt like a trustworthy brand when I saw the packaging. Yep.
Nice. Yeah, and their video ads, those are all again like before and after, people's transformation sort of ads, as well as like you'll see there's like different types of hooks. I think, let me see if we covered them here.
One thing I did notice, I left a comment there, is they include like disclaimers in every single one, but it's got that kind of like, pharmaceutical kind of speak.
Yeah.
And I bet that works extremely well for them. That's clearly like a requirement, maybe for some regulatory thing, but I think it also probably helps with just increasing trust. Because like your average like drop shipping type product, like they don't care about like disclaimers or regulations or anything like that. And I think shoppers are kind of naturally in tune to that.
Yeah. It's also, it might create like a blind space in the ad where like people may notice it, but then they just like skim over it, or
legalese.
Right. But yeah, going back to the hooks, you'll see some of that in the ads here. So, 100% online, free shipping, how Hims gave me 10 years back. I've been wearing hats to hide my bald spot since I was 21. Right. So they just like, they have these different types of hooks. And actually, if we click over here, where we're studying some of their ads, we can look at some of their hooks, and you can see here, this is my holy grail for thicker, fuller hair. This guy has great hair. How to regrow your hair in 3 steps. Rub mayonnaise in your hair. Can this hair be saved?
No, I haven't gotten there. Maybe one day.
I was shampooing my hair and I noticed there was my hair all over my hand. Never too early to treat hair loss. Or here's my master plan for thicker hair in 2024. So they have all these different hooks that, capture people's attention and get them to watch the full ad. The ads, again, communicate the journey, the before and after, and how the product works. And so if someone did have the chance to, watch the video ad, then they're dropped onto a high context landing page. And then again, from these static ads where people don't have enough, they don't get a whole lot of context, but they understand like, the solution and the problem it's solving. They get dropped on this low context landing page.
Can you actually show that Foreplay page again? I wanted to shout out Foreplay here. This is like Ethan's like favorite app. He's just always showing me ads from different brands. This is where he like saves it all. Really, really cool. Really cool app.
Yep. No, they're super useful. All right. So now looking at these like low context landing page here, you'll see that they communicate what the solution is. They've got some different bullet points here that help like communicate like what's different about it and the process and things like that. Looks like you got a
I wanted to highlight here that like the call to action, like it's a quiz funnel that they're linking to. But you'll notice with these like 9+ figure brands, like they never say quiz. Like I see a lot of brands like that we work with. They're always saying like, take our quiz funnel, like take our product finder quiz. And like maybe shoppers do have some association to it, but I think the vast majority of them don't. Almost always the ones that are, spending a ton of money on ads, they never say it's a quiz. It's always an assessment. It's always talking about getting like a personalized recommendation or like building your box or something like that. It's never says quiz.
Your routine or
right.
Your subscription, things like that. They use a lot of before and after sort of imagery throughout their landing page. And they, explain how the product works, how hair loss happens. And
that's actually super interesting, the way they like show you the science behind it and all that.
Yeah, and they keep it really simple. Like, they don't overload you with information, which is, I think, helpful to the buyer, because the buyer actually may not need that much information to, kind of assess whether they have that issue and then, whether they are willing to try out like a solution.
I feel like it's a very clear like problem solution thing. It's like problem, you have this DHT, like hormone loss or something like that, but you just don't know. But then like I think that they give you the resources for being able to like diagnose that through like a teledoc type of thing.
Yeah, and I think like you have like other types of like legacy products that either look like, I don't know, they might look intimidating because they're like, too kind of like what would be the right way to describe it? Is it like, using too many medical terms and not necessarily like super consumer friendly?
Or just like patchwork. Like when I think of something like Rogaine, right? It's like, what am I just going to have to be like applying Rogaine forever, right? Here at least they're telling me like what is the root problem, and that it looks like perhaps they have a solution to the actual root problem.
Right, exactly. And so here I think they explain how like the treatment actually works, and that it comes from a licensed provider. So, for people who have that kind of concern because they're buying from a direct-to-consumer brand online, here I think they address that by, talking about how they have licensed providers, and they actually go into that a little further down on the page. I love this section. I love like how they're communicating what's included, as well as their imagery and how they've like repackaged their oral like supplements for hair loss.
Interesting.
To kind of look like mints.
Yeah, I actually couldn't even like discern what that was when looking at it. It wasn't really clear. I think it's just a matter of like the contrast and all. It could also be like a matter of like the screen. I think if I like crank the brightness up on my screen, I can like, see what that is. But if, I don't know, my phone I'm not doing this on my phone battery is like super low. I have it like, kind of dim. I'm not going to be able to see what that is. But now that I'm looking at it, I mean, it looks like a tablet capsule type thing that you would take, but it with goldfish or something. I don't know. It's kind of hard. So I disagree.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, well, I mean, I think, to play the other side, I think showing like the tablet product makes it easy to take, right? And so this is something that you work into maybe your morning routine, and you go on about your day. It doesn't require a whole lot of extra work. And I think for guys, a lot of times like they don't want to invest a ton of time in their routine. So, something that's easy to go and implement like this would work.
Yeah, I can do maybe like 2 or 3 things, like take a multivitamin. Like it's got to like fit right into that process.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like how they show here, like what's included, and a lot of the sort of high points, right? And then they follow this up with social proof. So they use before and after images and testimonials. Like the way they actually visualize this is really great. And it's well done for mobile, where it's swipeable and you can look through multiple ones in the same fold or the same like screen, right? So you don't have to scroll down to look through a bunch of different reviews. Like it's all right within the same context that you have.
Oh, here they call it a quiz. I stand corrected.
Yeah, so this section's good, showing how the process works, right?
Yeah, I really like that they're like setting expectations, like very clear expectations, because like I may not know like how much time I want to allocate to this, right? Especially if I'm on the go. Like if I'm getting in an Uber, I'm gonna have 10 minutes, right? And like I click an ad, at least like telling me, okay, this is a little bit more involved or something like that. I think it helps me say, okay, when I get home, I'm going to do this, right? I'll put that on my to-dos, set a reminder or something like that.
Yeah. And like here where they're saying like the quiz takes 2 minutes, the intake assessment takes 3 minutes, and then next thing you know, you're getting a free delivery. So could you dedicate 5 minutes coming off of an ad in order to like, try out the product? I think a lot of people, can find 5 minutes in their day. So
I actually didn't see the 2 minute and 3 minute thing. Like I feel like that should be in the like titles there, because of like, I'm just glancing. I'm looking through stuff. I'm glancing at the titles, right? I'm not reading like the fine writing there.
Okay. Yeah, possibly. And then they show how like you can get ongoing support, which is great. Okay. There are other ways to apply the product, right? So there's a spray. So they're showing here the different types of ways to get this solution.
That's what I bought, the spray.
The spray?
Yeah.
Nice. And and so the call to action here leads to the quiz. Now, let's look at this high context landing page. So again, for people that are coming off of a video ad where they just saw something that was 30 seconds long, 60 seconds long, and educating them about the product as well as like the experience that other people have, they get dropped on a page like this where it's a lot more direct and there's a lot less information needed to get people to click. So you'll see that instead of educating on the solution here in the hero section, they're actually going directly for stop hair loss, right? So people who are maybe panicking about their hair loss, they're speaking to them directly, and they're communicating the goal and how it works, right? Or like with what products.
Look at this like sticky bar at the top. Look at the copy. Your secret
great.
weapon for hair growth. That is such dude copy. Like they can only do this because they've like completely targeted the brand to men, right? But a guy definitely wrote that.
So we're breaking down him's funnel here, but they also have hers as a brand. So it'd be fun to document their funnel for hers and see the copy that they use for targeting like women as well.
Yeah, we should definitely do that.
And then something I think was interesting here is on this page, they actually hit you with like a 3-step questionnaire quiz. And it doesn't actually like, reload the page or anything like that. It just drops you down further down the page. So it's like the pre-quiz before the actual quiz. They start with like, what are your hair goals? So you click 1 and it automatically moves you to the next question. Are you looking for a simple solution to regrow your hair? Yes, no. And then it moves you further down the page. And at the same time, as you're scrolling down, there's this floating call to action pop-up that's scrolling with you, driving you to take the free hair quiz.
Interesting. This feels a little over-engineered there, but maybe it's working really well for them.
Maybe. I actually like this floating call to action because it keeps the main call to action in view as you're scrolling through the page. But it's possible that it might be over-engineered, especially if the landing page is designed to get you to click through. But you are having to take there are multiple clicks that you're having to make, right? So there's no main button here that drives you into the quiz. You kind of have to go through these different steps. So I can understand wanting to keep that call to action present and in view throughout the scrolling of that page.
For sure.
Okay, so you get dropped in the last question, and then from there you're taken to this section here, where they explain how the product works a little bit, and you can either click to get the spray or click to see if the treatment is right for you.
I feel like they do that because they probably know the spray is like a massive bestseller. It seems like a not very like invasive type thing, like taking like a daily a pill or something like that. So they get that bestseller in front of you, but they make the quiz accessible there as with like a secondary call to action.
Well, what's interesting is that when you click to get the spray, it actually takes you to the quiz as well. Like no matter what, they take you through the quiz.
Okay.
So they just use different calls to action and copy on like landing pages and things like that to hook you. Again, more social proof that you can scroll through or swipe through. What's included, their process here. So
I find it very interesting how a lot of times with these larger brands have invested a ton in their funnels is they're not afraid to have these super long pages, right? They're just, if someone wants to scroll, which is like the interaction that we like primarily do, like we don't really swipe or click nearly as much as we scroll these days in our smartphones. Like they just keep you scrolling and they keep putting, messaging in front of you that's going to increasingly warm you up until you inevitably click one of the calls to action.
Right. Yeah. So I think this part here is helpful for people to understand how long it can take and start to set some expectations.
I remember them saying like 6 months when I purchased the spray.
Yeah.
I think that was absolutely key because like I had no intention of using the thing for 6 months until they told me like, hey, you gotta stick it out for 3 months. I'm sorry, 6 months for you to actually see some results. So I did.
Did you actually talk to someone or was it just all?
I went through the quiz. Again, this is like a year ago when I went through it as a shopper. And then they put me through that, the like teledoc type thing to get a prescription.
Gotcha.
Which I feel like maybe just there's a lot of like confirmation bias in there. But nevertheless, it did feel like somewhat helpful. Like they were asking questions that did, seem helpful. But it was pretty smooth and frictionless.
Cool. Yeah, and then they go into the ingredients and how the product works here, and a little bit about the process. Now, when you click on any of those landing pages, you're taken into this quiz here. So I went through this quiz both after clicking ads that were being ran in the UK as well as in the US. And the quiz, for the most part, pretty much the same. However, there are a few changes, a few tweaks, and it looks like it even triggers different email flows as well, which have similar messaging, but there are some slight differences. One thing I noticed in the US version versus the UK version is they collect more data on the US version, probably because they have to stay compliant in all these different states. They collect like date of birth, and I actually had to drop off on the US version because it asked for a social security number at some point, while the UK version didn't. So I was able to complete the quiz through the UK version, so we can see it all the way through checkout. But on the US version, it asked for social security number at one point.
There's probably a difference between like the US, like HIPAA compliance, and like UK's whatever their like framework is for that kind of health data. There's probably some difference there in terms of what they can do, where they actually hit like a red line that they can't cross.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So this would be the first step of the quiz. So John, you mentioned here it's very thumb friendly.
Yeah, super key. That's something I always see with these larger brands. It's like the quizzes are always super thumb friendly. Sometimes we'll work with brands and they want to create these quizzes that require like a lot of like very tactile like inputs, like multi-step forms, for example, where you're asking people to input information that could just be tapped through like a survey. Almost always the most optimized quizzes have these like big thumb friendly buttons, right? And like, it's true for like chat bots and all that stuff too. Like you would think that like someone wants to just kind of do a messenger like chat back and forth to kind of go through like a questionnaire experience through a chat, but really like ultimately once they're optimized, you end up with these like very thumb friendly tappable options, and that's how you get people through the process very quickly.
Yeah, while I interface a lot with messengers, like I think one thing that's kind of frustrating about them is that there's a delay, right? You have to like wait for them to respond and things like that, and that delay is sometimes engineered and on purpose. But I find it like if you can just tap through a multi-step quiz or questionnaire, like that helps you kind of get to where you want quickly.
I feel like this is antagonizes me because I have like really fat thumbs that are not like very like I don't have like dexterity in my thumbs. So like when I'm having to type, I'm like in pain. Like I'm like annoyed. I'm like backspacing constantly over and over. So I think safe bet, keep it very thumb friendly.
One thing I just thought about too, like regarding like chat experiences versus like a multi-step quiz is a messenger or chat experience, kind of like a text message. I feel like I can drop it and get back to it later, right? While something that's like a multi-step quiz or questionnaire, I'm scared the page is going to reload and I'm going to have to restart or lose all my progress. So I don't know if other people experience that or if it's just me because I'm always going through them. But
right, like if you were to bail, you may get it through email or something like that. You could reply later. Like I think that's kind of like a learned behavior when you go through messengers.
Yeah, and like messengers don't necessarily like reload and you don't lose all your progress, right? Like usually they're
persistent.
They're persistent. Okay, so one thing I wanted to highlight here regarding these questions, the first question is asking like which best represents your hair loss and goals. And then the next question here is asking like, what are you noticing? Where are you noticing hair loss? So I think one important thing here is that they're meeting people where they are. So I think we're pretty strategic with the questions that they're asking and in the sequence here to make sure that they meet people where they are. So in this first question, people will answer whether their hair is like receding or if they're starting to experience hair loss and now they're exploring options. Or if they've already experienced hair loss and they're ready to start treatment. So finding out, where people are in their journey, allowing them to kind of like, remind themselves where they are, I think is a good start for the quiz.
Probably skip a number of questions depending on the answers. Like for example, the next question is like, where are you noticing hair loss? If you had selected that your hair is, or
like no hair loss.
Yeah, no hair loss yet, or something like that. They're not going to ask you that. They're just going to skip.
Yeah. For sure. Okay, so moving on, they've also got a progress bar that kind of shows your progress.
Yeah, progress bar is interesting because you'll notice it's kind of like broken up at the end.
So it's for different sections.
Interesting.
Yeah. So as you get through it, like this wide part of the progress bar will show for like another section here where you have multiple questions that are relevant to a certain category of questions.
Nice. That's cool. It's a long quiz.
Yeah, definitely. Whether it takes 2 to 3 minutes to get through, I don't know, but it definitely has a lot of questions. So you've got a comment here?
Yeah, I was saying that, they're like describing what a lot is like down below with instead of just having like it say a lot, some, a little, they actually tell you, right, what that is. Cause I may not know, right? I think it's always helpful to do that.
Yeah.
I think what they did in the previous question where they had imagery was probably even more helpful because I don't have to read it, right? Maybe if I don't have my glasses, it may be hard for me to read that very small text, and the imagery could help, but yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So with these questions, they're essentially just trying to like understand where you are in your journey. And I think it's helpful for the person to recognize where they are in their journey. Because typically you want to meet people where they are before you lead them.
Yeah, and I really like this question here because they just go ahead and ask you for the desired outcome. Like, what results are you hoping for? Like, rather than like trying to like ask all these like proxy questions to like figure it out and then make an assumption about what that is, just ask the shopper what it is that they want as an outcome, right? And that might give you the best like data for a product recommendation.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we're actually moving in a direction now with like shopping and commerce that compresses the number of clicks and compresses the shopping experience to the point of understanding who that person is, what their challenges are as quickly as possible, what their goals are, and then giving them a faster path to that.
I bet their product recommendation probably depends on like 2 or 3 questions, and like this is probably one of those kind of anchor questions that drive the product recommendation. And like the rest, probably more so fluff to make the shopper feel involved and commitment, sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah. And that's actually the case with a lot of quizzes from different brands. Like there's, a few questions that really determine what recommendations are made at the end, while a lot of the other questions are designed to either personalize future marketing or to drive further investment from the shopper, so they're more committed to the experience.
This is why it's super important with quizzes to track and measure the actual order rate and the average order value and the total net revenue that's attributed. In ConvertFlow, we do 7-day click-through. So if like someone sees and like starts the quiz, they click through, like now they're going to be in the attribution window. And then if they buy, you can see the AOV and the orders and the revenue. But what this does is it makes it so you can split test. What happens if we do a shorter quiz, right? Maybe we have higher conversion rates, right? But that doesn't always necessarily translate to like higher AOV or higher total revenue or a higher like order rate, for example. Perhaps the longer quiz does, right? It's worth getting in there and testing that and measuring it against your actual end outcome that you care about, which is probably AOV. Total revenue, right?
Cool. So again, these are some of these questions that may or may not necessarily matter, but help the shopper feel understood, right? So like, what is your hair type? How long is your hair? And then they start showing some of these like, what would you call these sort of sections? These like message sections in between.
Buffers, something like that.
Yeah, they help like educate the consumer, as well as like pre-sell a little bit and set context for like the next steps, or pre-sell people on the product, maybe throw in some social proof, things like that.
It feels like progress. It's like, okay, I've reached the intermission. All right, next part, right?
True. It could also act like a reset. Yeah. Okay. So from that step, they move into some more questions around like people's background that could be causing hair loss, right?
I think they again, maybe this is assumed that like, someone does have hair loss. They probably have some family history of it, exhibit A and B. But you'll notice here that they ask like, that they put why we ask, right? Because I said here, this improves trust a lot. It says here, the most common cause of hair loss is hereditary hair loss. So again, they're kind of assuming that it is, but they still ask. I think that improves trust.
Yeah. And also if you went to a doctor or went to a specialist for this, they would ask these kind of questions as well. All All right, so they ask as well, like how often do you experience stress? So they're trying to figure out what are these different causes. And they kind of reiterate these different causes and factors that drive hair loss. So they're educating people through the process here, through these different intermissions between the quiz questions.
You'll notice here in that kind of intermission there, they have these like highlighted words. They almost feel like they could be merge tags that changed based off my answers, even though I don't think that they are. I think those are things that everybody just kind of wants. But I thought it was a nice like little UI touch that they did that, because it does feel like it perhaps changes based off my answers.
It also stands out too.
Right. It makes it more glanceable.
Like the thicker, fuller hair,
right,
in 3 to 6 months, that stands out for me. And then they go into some questions about people's routine, like how do they like to style their hair, how much time do they spend on their hair every day, and then from here, and this actually might have displayed the text a little bit lower here, but they basically say that we've got a lot of options for you, or some options for you.
They probably just show all of their options. But it looks good.
Products here. And this section here shows what you've answered for hair changes, for lifestyle factors, hair routine. So this definitely makes the quiz feel more personalized, and that HIMS is getting to understand the shopper, which I think helps justify the level of commitment and investment of time that the shopper's already invested, and encourages them to move forward in order to see what results or recommendations HIMS has for them.
And they tell you about what's involved, like what's actually doing it.
These sections are great before showing the products.
Yep. No, they explain what, minoxidil and all that stuff does. I feel like this is super important as well, because people may have like some preconceived notion about one of these things, right? Like they might have heard about some side effects of minoxidil, and that may be all that they associate with minoxidil. Right. But so what they do is they reinforce like what is the actual benefit of it.
Yeah. And also like stats around, how many people saw results. Right. So that encourages people to try out a solution, even if they've maybe have heard some of symptoms that maybe are not like something they really want to experience.
Right. This next part here I thought was super important. So what they do when I went through this is they give you like a messenger teledoc experience with someone who gives you a prescription, right? Because it is like a prescription product. And what this does is it makes him feel like a service and not just a product. So I think something that a lot of brands struggle with shoppers as we get kind of exhausted to buying things online is like, we don't know, like, are we buying some trash like drop ship thing off Amazon that could have been like, Temu grade stuff? Or are we actually getting something that is like of a premium, higher quality thing that's going to be worth this premium spend that I'm likely going to have to commit to, considering how great this brand looks, right? So like letting us know, hey, this is a service. You're talking with people. This is not just a product. I think that's massive differentiator.
Yeah, absolutely. I think knowing that like you can talk to a human, is a huge it allows you to justify the premium prices, right? And makes people feel a lot more comfortable.
But not just a human, it's a medical provider. I think that's a super important thing. Yeah.
Even more valuable.
So here they say that you're eligible for treatment. I have a feeling like they probably just tell everyone that they're eligible for treatment, or there's probably some simple logic, like if you answered like one thing that completely disqualified you, then it may change. But I bet all the other stuff is, still falling under the eligibility.
Yeah. And so you create your account at this point so that they can save your results. And we're going to keep going through the quiz funnel here, but I wanted to highlight that if you drop after submitting this data here, then they start the email welcome flows, right? So we'll go through that in just a little bit. Or do you think we should go through that now? It's basically...
Let's go through like we're buying, like we're hot, they're blowing a strike, right? Let's assume that. And then we can like kind of entertain, like, what if we did bail?
Okay.
What if we bounced?
Cool. Yeah. So you create your account and then you move on here and you can see like the different types of treatments they offer. And so you choose which one you want, or if you have no preference, you would click that. In this example, I selected the sprays, and here immediately it has like a section or a step that shows you their spray product and educates you a little bit about it, which I thought was really, really great. Strong imagery too. And then they take you to this step here which was like a treatment preview page. So they show you the different products that you would be getting, finasteride, minoxidil.
Yeah, so I actually left a
Biotin.
comment here because like they position each of these as almost like their own products, but the spray bundles all of those. So it's implying that like, I've seen like biotin, for example, before, like a multivitamin. It implies that like I could be spending separately on biotin, on minoxidil, et cetera, and they're just bundling it all together in this nice, intuitive spray.
Yeah. And, for men who like to buy things a lot of times for just the utility value and convenience, that's a win for them.
Right. This is, it definitely has that like 2-in-1, like, shampoo conditioner type effect, right? Where like my fiance, hates it, right? But I'm like, wow, this just saves me so much time. It simplifies my life.
Right. Have you seen the 3-in-1s? It's like body wash, conditioner, shampoo, all
That's
in
too
one.
far. That's too far.
I've seen those. Not going to say I bought them, but now it's a little hard to see here because of this call to action button that scrolls with you as you scroll down the page. But if we zoom in here, you'll see that right here it says selected based on your goals. So they feed back the goals that you selected earlier in the quiz right to you here. So again, this is personalizing the experience and letting you know that maybe this recommendation was made for you based on all the answers you gave them.
Another thing that I noticed here is it says there's explore other treatment options. I call these a funnel escape hatch because a lot of times brands, when they start, building funnels and they like put the horse blinders on entirely for the shopper. And a lot of times it's just not what the shopper wants. If, for example, the logic were wrong or like, the recommendation were wrong, or perhaps they just weren't a good fit for that recommendation. So a funnel escape hatch is a way for you to get out of it, right? So that might mean like getting to a product collection page or just getting back to the home page. I like it a lot of times. They'll say like restart the quiz or like, get a different recommendation. But yeah, they make that available here. I think that's super important.
Yeah. Instead of people bouncing, like you could do like another recommendation, which is great. Send people down a different path. Further down this page, they really explain a lot about the solutions, what to expect, side effects, important safety information. So they're building trust in this process through education. And then again, how their product works, right?
You'll notice there, if you scroll back up, that they use a collapse for all of these like nitty gritty, like fine details. I think that's super important because, it may just be TMI, right? So you might as well hide it behind the things. It's like active ingredients, what to expect, side effects, etc. So if you are interested, then you click into that. You double click.
Yeah, I also like that, these collapsible elements, because on a mobile device, you can contain most of the information that people need to see for a section within one like view, and then open up that next view when they double tap to see, let's say, what to expect or side effects. And then again, that can all happen within one view, and you don't have to like scroll to read a lot. Here they're explaining, they're introducing their product again, and then they're communicating why the spray, right? So here they're selling some of the benefits of it. It's quick drying, sleek spray bottle, formulated for you, right?
And then before and after results.
Yep, more social proof. And they should have a call to action here. I think that call to action that's at the top, this one would be scrolling with you. So no matter where you are on the page, you're going to see, an option to continue with this plan. So let's say you click that, then you keep moving forward. So here they start getting into
it's like an assessment,
more of the assessment, right? So they ask about your sex, assigned at birth. Do you have history of hair loss in your extended family, which I think they actually asked before.
Possible they skip it, but they might just ask it again.
Yeah. And also I was going through both the US and the UK version, and it's possible that maybe the order of like the UK version is slightly different than the US version. For the most part, they look the same to me, but
you'll notice though, it's like they had like the pre-quiz, which was like the little survey on that one page. And then they had the quiz, which like powered the recommendation just to kind of, get you into the right assessment. And then they have like an assessment quiz. So they have like 3 quizzes all like together. they're definitely broken up. It is clearly not all a part of the same like page or something like that. They're probably getting you to different parts, different milestones. And like perhaps like, for example, this assessment quiz, like this might be, actually integrated into like their application, for example, right? While on the front end, it might have just been more for powering that recommendation.
I don't know if the URL was changing for me as I was going through it, but
it does look like if you scroll up, you have your URLs there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one says code UK assessment. And now if I go back, I'll go check it out. Yeah, it does look like it is still assessment, but the URL does seem to be changing.
The URL changes on the tail end of it, but the initial like subdirectories are the same.
It's interesting. You'll notice that if you look at the URL scheme, it's like .co.uk/c/hl/ingredient, Yeah, there's definitely URL changes along the way, but you'll notice though it's like housed by a variant. So they have like A, B, C. I think that's how they're doing it.
Interesting. Yeah, and so here they go into some of the more medical questions. Make sure like you're not experiencing inflammation or burning of the scalp, or that like you haven't like had any severe illness, right? That could be contributing to your hair loss.
That's interesting.
Are you allergic to finasteride or minoxidil?
These are definitely like questions that are like, they don't care about the friction at this point. Cause like, I think the identification step was when they, at the end of the first quiz, they asked for your email and I think a password for it.
Right. And I think they need to make sure that people who take this, are not going to have any severe like reactions or anything like that, right?
Right.
So yeah, you get through a number of these medical questions,
I would call this more of like a disqualification type of quiz.
Yeah, and you can see the default answer here that you can select, which is like none of these apply to me, right? So it's like a quick path through the quiz that's put right up at the top. While if you do suffer, let's say, from certain conditions or taking certain medications, then they've got, long list of answers that you can select from. Then you give consent, right? And from there,
checkout.
You get to the checkout page, right? So if you've entered your first name, then it's going to feature it right here where it says, where I put test. And then it shows which products you now have in the cart. And one thing that I think is helpful to see, like, which drives their customer acquisition payback, is that they have every 6 months pre-selected. Yeah. So they're collecting more cash up front, which helps them pay back their marketing spend faster.
Yeah, so you can't buy a single bottle. The smallest increment's 3 bottles. I wrote a comment there saying that the discount visualization per month, that definitely got me to buy the 6 months, because they already said it's going to take 6 months to see results, right? Mm-hmm. And then now they're showing me, it's like, well, I don't want 40, in this case it's pounds, but like I don't want to spend $41 a month. I'd rather spend 33 a month, right? Right. If they didn't visualize that monthly rate, I probably wouldn't have gone for it.
Yep. Kind of like a car payment, a lot of people are concerned about just like what it costs monthly.
Right.
So here you're saying that they're value stacking.
Yeah, definitely value stacking here. All these things that like, maybe they like don't necessarily need to mention, like ongoing check-ins, all that stuff. But I think it's really good that they mention it because it feels more valuable as a service. More discount reminders.
Again, they're collecting more cash up front here, pays back their marketing spend. And let's see if you said this here, but here at the bottom where it says you will only be charged if prescribed, I think is a great way to message, in order to like reduce the friction of adding the credit card and moving forward.
It's like risk reversal.
Yeah. And I imagine like that's an honest thing that they have to do, right? Like if the person isn't like eligible for the prescription, right?
They can't charge them.
So
yeah. So I do want to highlight here, this is like at this stage, like they built their own checkout. It looks like they've got the actual credit card like processing right there on that page, as opposed to like using like a centralized checkout like Shopify's. I think that at this stage, it really, really benefits them to do that kind of custom checkout where they can fine tune every little single thing and add all like that, kind of fluffy value stacking into the order form, the pre-selections, all that stuff. They really have control of that right within the page where they put the credit card in. While as opposed to like, using a more centralized checkout, it could be a little bit harder to be able to do that. But it makes sense when they're doing 9 figures in revenue, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So what if we went through, a good part of this quiz and then bounced? So we abandoned the funnel and we start receiving some emails here. So we could look at the UK flow and the welcome flow. For the most part, they're the same. There are some differences. So which would you prefer to go through first?
Let's do the US one.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I've added the subject lines that they used on top here, and as well, what day you receive these emails. So day 1 would be, you abandon, and that same day you're going to get this email here.
Interesting subject line there.
And I don't even know if I don't think it's this is not just an abandonment flow. Like this is the welcome flow, but I think there's emails in here that you get because you abandoned.
They probably just fire this off regardless. Like they probably just assume that you're going to abandon. And they probably send it as soon as you put your email in.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't know if you'll get this one here if you complete the assessment on
the
day
2.
one.
Yeah. Right? But that first email, that's like more of like a welcome email.
Exactly. So, kind of like their landing page, they're again communicating the main value here, how the product works. Yeah,
they just go ahead and assume that you haven't finished the assessment based off the timing, right?
Exactly.
Assessment being the quiz, right?
Yep. So these call to actions would take you back to finish that assessment. And then here, they're reiterating like what's in the product. They have the call to action. They have like strong imagery to remind you like how it works and what it looks like.
Really nicely designed emails.
And I think one thing to highlight too is like their subject lines are communicating like the main idea they want you to get, right? So day 2 is unlock personalized hair regrowth care. This next one would be your online assessment is incomplete.
That would get me.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's more personalized, right?
Yep. It's like a to-do for me.
Walk you through the process here, complete your medical assessment, connect with a provider online, access online check-ins at any time.
Look at this headline down below and like the footer of the email. It says, future you thanks you. Nice. That I feel like that definitely like plays on this thing of like, when you do something, you're like, damn, I'm glad I did that, right?
Instead of delaying.
Yeah, they're kind of telling you that you're going to feel that.
Yeah. I also like that they're reducing friction here. So like, they say here, personalized care is only a few clicks away. So, they're just trying to make it as easy as possible for people to move forward.
So, wow, they send multiple day 2 emails.
They do.
Yeah,
they do.
That's aggressive.
So I think we've got 3 day 2 emails. The last one here is a listicle type, 3 reasons why people use hymns. Right.
Wow, look at day 3. A note from our chief medical officer. That's very interesting.
Building social, credibility there. And then here they're increasing, like you're trying to like push people over the edge. And you'll notice this email is very similar to this one over here. They just changed like
just another bumper.
A little bit. Right. Another bumper. Then they've got, day 4, the hair regrowth timeline. So what you can expect.
Yeah. They're assuming you're not as hot in terms of buying as you might have been earlier.
Yeah, and
they got to get you back.
If you think about it, they've really just taken like their landing pages in each section and just gone horizontal with them and broken them up across different emails. And that is kind of like what their welcome flow is like, educating people basically on the solution, how it works, social proof, trying to overcome objections and reducing friction. I
feel like this is definitely like exhibit A of just like how if you keep top of mind awareness, you just have more exposure, more eyeballs, you're probably going to drive more sales, right?
Yeah. And they're using like some of their subject lines are almost like the hooks that they use in the ads, which I think is kind of interesting.
And you'll notice this is like, only day 4 and they've hit us already with like what, 8, 9, 10 emails.
Yeah.
So they're going super hard here because they know if after day 7, you're probably not going to buy anytime soon until you re-enter the funnel.
Now, here they received an email for a totally different product that they offer. So my assumption is, 1 of 2 things here. One, if you haven't already moved forward with the assessment and finished the quiz, they may be, using other types of angles to introduce other solutions, other products that they offer to see if those engage you and maybe take you down a path of, converting you on one of those. Or if you're clicking through the home page or their main website, just to look at other products that they have, they might send you emails based on that activity as well. So
it's hard to tell. I do find it interesting here how they use different colors to associate with different product lines. So like the hair growth, there's a lot of orange type of colors. And then on the sexual health products, it's more of like a purple orange.
yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, very intentional branding.
And then, they continue taking you down these this path of educating you, going deeper into the ingredients of the product, how it all works, results that people get, right? And then also comparing their oral supplement product versus the spray. So a lot of education in their emails.
Like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's a big question. Question mark in my head as I was shopping through that. Is oral versus spray better?
Yeah, and look how they almost using Quora questions or Google answers. They've designed the question and answer that way, and highlighted the specific words that they want you to focus on. Really well done.
What are you waiting for? Da, da, da.
Yeah.
And then they go back to the sexual health.
And then they introduce you to their other products that they have, right? So
all right. And the UK version, if you scroll down, it's about roughly the same thing.
Pretty much the same thing. There's some slightly different designs. One thing I noticed though with the UK version versus the US version is the UK version we're using images for all of their emails, while the US version actually had HTML emails.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think that is by design. I think that's probably just them trying to execute and ship quickly.
Yeah. Possibly.
Trying to localize and all that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just take a screenshot and move forward.
You'll notice they're personalizing it based on the region, right? So the country here. So they've got some emails that are personalized, but a lot of it's the same. All of these were in the US flow.
Do we know if HIMS also has Canada and Australia and the other countries or no?
I don't know. I imagine they're in Canada and probably some other countries, but I don't know.
Yeah, so it sounds like they actually, did the coding for the emails on the US flow as proof of concept, and then they're just distributing image-based ones to localize for other countries.
This is interesting. So this is a little bit different than their US flow, but they're branding their products as hair hybrids, multi-ingredient hair growth treatments. I didn't see that mentioned at all in the US messaging within their US flows.
It also says at the top, it says wrap up your intake today. Is that a UK type of term in terms of supplementation intake? Because I've never heard that before.
Well, you have intake forms, but yeah, maybe that's more commonly used over there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so it does seem somewhat tailored.
A little bit, yeah, or at least maybe there's
Oh yeah, it is. It says personalized with an S.
Nice.
Yeah.
And this, maybe they added this email to the flow once they introduced this product or this version of the product, right? And so this is a little bit different than the US welcome flow. So I didn't see that email in there.
I still don't like the goldfish capsule things. Must be working for them. Can't knock it.
From a product perspective, I like that. A product design perspective, I like that they went with a slightly different shape to the pill, because it could have gone with the traditional
capsule
design, or the little round pill design. This has round edges. It looks a little different. It almost looks like it could be a chewable, I guess. I don't know if it's a chewable.
Yeah.
But it looks like one, and looks different. Right? It looks cool.
Well, that's a long one. That's a long funnel. But it's super well optimized. You could see that it's very intentional across the board. It's, the length is by design. But overall, amazing brand. They're killing it. I'm a happy customer.
Yeah. And they're doing, I believe, over $1 billion in revenue. So they're very quickly, they've scaled up and are I think quickly on their way to dominating that market.
It's a big market. It's a big problem. We're definitely targets of that problem. So
yeah. All right. Maybe next we can do hers.
All right.
Document that funnel.
I look forward to it. Want all the templates from this funnel? Go to commerflow.com and get the funnel swipe file for free, where our team is collecting the top funnel designs we see driving today's fastest growing brands.